Welcome to the AI Advantage live series. My name is Bolaji Olatoy. I am super excited about the conversation I'm about to have today. I am going to be talking with Vanja Ljevar. She is the co-founder and chief data scientist at Kubik Intelligence, where she leverages AI, machine learning, and behavioral sciences to help businesses make smarter decisions. And she has a PhD in computer science. She spent years at the intersection of AI, human behavior, and analytics. And she works across industries such as retail, telecommunications, and finance. It's lovely to see you. Thank you so much for being here with me and having this discussion.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And it's, of course, my pleasure to speak with you today.
It would be good if you can give me your outlook on your journey so far. And, how did you end up where you are now? And what is it that you do, if you could describe it in just your own words?
So I was always really deeply fascinated by people, and I was always trying to understand them and profile them. So I was reading a lot of books even as a kid about psychology. And when I started studying, actually my background is in marketing and advertising. So I was always sort of trying to understand consumer behavior. And at some point I got really interested in data science. So I ended up doing a PhD in computer science and really creating that intersection between data, psychology, and marketing, which is what I really love. And I guess my business partner, Patrick Fagan, and I met, and we realized that we really both love to analyze consumers and understand which secret buttons you need to press in customers' minds. And we found that our Kubik Intelligence, which is a behavioral analytics consultancy based here in London, we actually have a really interesting edge because we are combining data science and psychology or behavioral science. And we're helping companies drive sales, growth, and really helping them create better relationships with customers.
This is amazing. And I love the synergy because, I'm in the area of helping businesses use AI to generate sales and to automate their sales operations. But I'm really interested in what you said about how you use behavioral analysis and psychology to predict buying patterns, or can you give me a practical example of how that kind of works?
There's many different applications. One of the projects that I really had a lot of fun with, we were working with a cinema brand, and our task was to increase popcorn sales. So what we did effectively, we analyzed the transactional data that the company had based on the loyalty card. So every time you come to the cinema, we sort of know what film you're watching or what are you buying, popcorn or whatever. And we can actually start to see the patterns in human behavior. And we were able also to combine that with a survey that we sent out to some of the visitors, and then connected the real behavior in terms of their transactions and film history, and the survey results where we asked about their psychological traits and motivations and so on. And based on that beautiful data set, we were able to then understand what kind of personas visit the cinema. So what are the underlying groups of customers? And we were then able to see which one of these groups is the one the company should really target. So who they can actually send some personalized offers for popcorn. And we created these very detailed psychological profiles and recommendations in terms of what colors they should use for each group, because all of these things really resonate differently with different people. So specifically, we found that the group of customers that wasn't really into buying popcorn, because they were these women who are really care about looking good, and they come to the cinema, they don't want to ruin their lipstick. It's more of a girls' night. We found that they are very conscientious. So that means they are very organized, and the advertising that would work best for them would be very minimalist. So pastel colors, only one popcorn rather than like a whole bag of popcorn. And also we realize they have a very strong sense of justice. So we thought that one of the best ways to actually nudge them to buy popcorn was to give them free gifts as a reciprocity nudge. So these are the kind of things we're doing in Kubik. We are sort of trying to understand customers and then, helping companies grow.
This is so amazing. I'm geeking out right now. I'm geeking out because one thing about me is I always find a way to link anything that I'm doing to a superhero scenario. There's a movie reference that I'm thinking of. I'm not sure if you've seen, the Marvel series, Captain America. So there's this plot within the movie where the evil antagonist Hydra, they have this thing called Project Insight. Okay. Project Insight is where they've gathered loads of data from people's, habits, buying decisions, where they frequent, like so much data about them, and then they've built a profile. But they've used it to build a profile as to, okay, is this person going to make a decision that is against the company?
The 21st century is a digital book. Zola taught Hydra how to read it. Your bank records, medical histories, voting patterns, emails, phone calls, your damn SAT scores. Zola's algorithm evaluates people's past to predict their future.
What then?
Then the Insight helicarriers scratch people off the list. A few million at a time.
So it's like quite morbid, but I'm kind of linking that to what you're saying. And is it a case that based on people's patterns, so that the data that you're collecting, their habits, and it's not just in relation to like the thing that they're buying, it's just you're building like a profile of them based on this large data set. And then is it a case that you are using AI to predict what recommendations to give them, or to predict what scenarios to create that will result in a buying decision? Is that kind of how?
First of all, that's a really good reference. I mean, I personally grew up in a cinema because my dad, he's a cinema owner. But basically, I really love that. I've seen it, and I'm a massive Marvel fan. Yes, so I think it's really important to distinguish between two types of AI. So
Sure.
When we talk about machine learning, which is a more technical term, there's the unsupervised and supervised machine learning. And then, of course, we have the generative AI, which we will talk about as well. When we're creating these profiles and understanding what kind of personas exist, then we're basically letting the machine see the patterns that we wouldn't be able to see as humans. So
Right.
AI is sort of learning on its own. Whereas when we are predicting the future, which is also something that we do, like, for example, who will, as you say, make a decision against the company, or who will churn, who will stop being the customer, who will switch a brand. These are all the kinds of predictions. Then we are actually using supervised machine learning. And that means that based on the input that we give the machine is learning that and then applying on unseen scenarios. So yeah, that's the summary.
I'm actually really interested in this, right? So like if a company wanted to utilize this, because this is very related to some of the work that I do. So we work with companies who, want to make money. So let's say at a company or industry or enterprise level, we have an organization, they want to make more sales. You come with your supervised machine learning and say, okay, what's the process? Would you gather a bunch of data for them first? And then you would now say, okay, based on the data that we've gathered, these are the recommendations that we would give you.
Interesting thing about this is that data comes from very many different sources. It doesn't just have to be transactional. We can use text data. So I mean, there is a lot of these. So now I'm going to be really nerdy, but there is a lot of fun facts that we can extract psychology from pretty much anything we do, any sort of digital footprints we're leaving. For example, you can start predicting breakup based on messages exchange, because people start using I and we as pronouns less. And that's just one example. Or we can actually extract somebody's, as I say, psychology. There's a lot of research that says people who love, for example, fun shows like Friends, they are more extroverted. There's people who like Netflix crime shows, they're probably more neurotic, which is opposite to emotional stability. And then based on these things, we can actually infer many other of their behaviors. So are they more likely to smile or go to a party or buy black products and so on? So
is there a particular industry that you specialize in with this supervised machine learning?
We usually work with some interesting products that have some psychology around itself, something that we can sort of examine. And, you know, when I started my company, I just said to myself, I really want to work on projects that are interesting to me. So otherwise I'm just going to end up as a computer scientist in a big corporation. So we usually focus on retailers, so food, obviously drinks, luxury items, fashion, but then we can also expand, to media. We had this brilliant project with a TV company in Ireland, where we were helping them develop their data strategy. So the scope of the work is really big. I would say we really demonstrated that it is possible to use many different data sources to extract psychology through our mock-up project. It was just a passion project that we didn't really do for anyone, and we called it a digital DNA. We collected data from one of our colleagues, obviously with their full consent. And this was data from, I think, 8 different data sources: loyalty cards, we had Netflix full history, Facebook comments, digital watch, sleep, steps, location, financial data, everything. And we were able to extract their digital DNA to prove that we can learn more about this person. Imagine we don't know anything about them, full psychological profile. And when we did it, we got a feedback. This person said that they're going to stop paying their therapist, and they're going to be a very strong sense of they need to have a closure on things. They're very focused on the planning in the future. So we found a very cool pattern between alcohol intake and running. Every time they were planning to go out and drink over the weekend, they would actually run 5 kilometers in the morning, sort of like future discounting.
You're justifying the cheat that you're going to do later on.
So we found very interesting things. And obviously, if we were able to do this on a larger scale, that would have been cool. But the idea, one of the cautionary tales that we want to say through this is that we are leaving a lot of our digital footprints as customers, as people, every single day. And it is possible to get a lot of insights, even if you're not aware of that. So that means our data is really valuable. And I always say, treat your data like your wallet. Don't leave it just anywhere. So
it's an amazing point you make, and I would want to just touch on that a little bit more. Digital footprint. We're in a world now where our digital footprint is being left in many ways that we don't even realize. And I think you're kind of alluding to the fact that perhaps there's a way for you to be more aware and in control of your digital footprint. I mean, talk to us a little bit about practically where is their data going, and how can they be more in control of it? Because I think people are more, there's concerns around like security, cybersecurity and things of that nature. But yeah, talk to us a little bit about that.
I think there's 2 sides of the story here. So one is, I would say, people are usually afraid of things that they don't understand. So when we talk about, when fire was introduced, the cavemen were scared of it. And the same goes for these kind of futuristic scenarios. So for example, to my knowledge, it is impossible to connect all of these different data sources on a mass scale. So somebody's health data, financial data, and all of these things, simply because companies wouldn't accept to share their data with other companies. So many of these things where people are going to be, our phones are listening to us and all that. I feel like there is a bit of a, there's a bit of a misconception. On the other hand, some companies that collect customer data, they can really get deep and get a lot of information. Did you go through a health scare? Did you have like an emotional reaction to something? And that can be used in marketing, which is why when we actually create these recommendations and we do this kind of work, it has to be done in a very ethical and transparent way. So companies need to clearly communicate with their customers, how is this data being used, processed, and also everybody has to have an option to opt out, to be forced to receive communication that you don't want to receive. And finally, as a rule of thumb to companies, don't be creepy. There's just no point in doing personalization in such a way. On the other hand, what I do want to say, law, and this is something I'm really passionate about, law is always a little bit behind with the regulation. And there's this trade-off. So we have European Union and GDPR law and all these regulations that are in a way almost stopping innovation because of the red tape around it. And then we have obviously some other countries that have different regulations. But I would say companies should have their own they have their own responsibility. And as consumers and customers, we also need to think about the way that we behave online. So be aware of what kind of data you're leaving. As I say, everything, every digital footprint, every click, like, share, comment, it's all staying there forever. So we should be more mindful about the way that we use not just social media, but any other online source, and try to really stay on top of everything and educate. So that would be my recommendation.
Some really good tips there, and I think people can get a lot of value from that. So just kind of one more topic I want to talk about, because we're coming to the end of our discussion, which has been great, by the way. I wish I could talk for longer, but small business owners, right? So this is an area of concern for me because I work with quite a lot of SMEs. You've talked about some really powerful machinery and some tools that will help them to grow, because if they have the data and the insights to be able to almost like what to do to get the people to buy. So how can this be used? Supervised machine learning, what's the practical application for a small business owner to be able to use this?
I would say there's definitely a way of understanding your customers on a deeper level, and then using those insights to create marketing and communication that resonates better. Now, it really depends on what kind of data a company is collecting. So I always start off with that. I say companies are sometimes like a three-legged dog. So they sort of run around. They're not even aware that they're missing something. They're happy. And that's how, companies just collect the data that they've always been using. Whereas they could be collecting something more useful. This is why I say before we start any project, we do a very detailed data audit to understand what data is there. And data isn't just coming from your customers. That's one of the things I teach these different companies. For example, if you are a small business owner, you can have a look at Google Analytics. If you have a website, you can get a lot of insights there about what kind of behavior, who's visiting your site. And then there's also obviously all sorts of secondary data that exists out there. So all the reports about the market and all of that. I would say AI is getting more and more powerful. So even if you're not using advanced techniques like supervised machine learning or all of that, it doesn't mean that you can't be engaged and on top of things. So there is a lot of open source AI sources. So for example, AI for marketing and sales, where you can use generative AI to help you generate some content for your blog, your emails. As I mentioned, AI analytics. So these are all the no-code solutions.
You mentioned some of the generative AI things at the end, and this is more or less the area that we specialize in. So just on that, we now have a full suite of, we call it our AI workforce superheroes, an AI that basically goes out and finds leads. And we have an AI that directs them on our on a website and gets them to request a callback, so a chatbot that interactively talks with them. And when the call back is requested, an actual AI will do a voice AI call and actually converse with somebody in real time, intuitively, and book them in, or make a sale, or move the case along to someone else in the company. And then we have kind of like a command AI that basically manages all of the bots. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the AI world, and a lot of capabilities, especially in the generative AI space. And I think with the combination of that and the supervised machine learning, I think put those together, this is a really powerful tool for businesses. I love to liken where we are with technology now as a empowering tool, and we're really leveling the playing field, because any business can have access to these things, these insights and these tools, and really make a go of things. So
completely agree. And I just want to mention and use this unique chance to actually mention the conference we're organizing called
absolutely,
where I'm so happy that you will be one of the speakers. And this is exactly what we are trying to accomplish with the conference. We want to humanize technology and really bring different companies where they can talk about their own perspectives and their own solutions. So it's a very mainstream event. There is not going to be a lot of tech like weird language we're using. The event is called Game Changer London, and you can check our LinkedIn page, and it's happening on the 8th of May at the Institute of Contemporary Arts. So I'm using this chance to invite your audience.
So I'm really looking forward to that. But I think we've come to the end of our time. So I wanted to say, Vanja, thank you so much for time, your amazing insights. I know you're very busy, so I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me today. Before we go, I would love if you can give us one takeaway, right? One takeaway that you would like people to remember about AI and data science, anything at all, to leave our viewers with.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed this chat. I hope we can do this again soon. There's so much to talk about. My one takeaway point would be, don't fight AI, use it to your advantage. I think the AI is not going to take over our jobs, but we can be more creative and productive using AI. So make sure you stay in the loop.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And lastly, how can people engage with you? Do you have a way for people to engage with you online? How would you like them to get in touch if they want to know more about anything that you're doing?
I post very frequently on LinkedIn, so feel free to follow me, Dr. Vanja Ljevar on LinkedIn. And I use that as a platform to talk about AI psychology and really position myself there. So I'm always more than happy to have a chat with anybody who reaches out. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much once again, Vanja. It's been a pleasure talking to you.